Arrived at London airport, and I was on a bus in Mile End somewhere. And I don't know what happened. I don't know but there was a black man sitting at the front, and the conductor went to collect his fare from him. I don't know what conversation they had. But I heard the conductor shouted at the man, "Why don't you go back to your country, you black? And go and live in the trees with the monkeys." And that thing shook me. I really was startled. I did not understand. I've never heard anything like that before. I said to her, "Can you please put the dog away, because I have to come to this lady," I call the lady's name, "every day to give her her medication." And she said, "Okay." I told her the time when I would be there each day, and she said, "Okay." She would put the dog away. One day she had a visitor, and I suppose she forgot that I was coming. I don't know, or the dog was out there on the landing anyway, and not expecting the dog, I just got out of the lift, pushed the door open, started to go. And as I got in on the landing, the dog rushed at me, and jumped up. Luckily, I had a bag with all my equipment, nursing equipment in there. I put it up like that in front of me. And the dog claws were on the bag because he jumped at me. I froze. I stood there. I could not move. And the lady rushed out of our flat, and she came out, and she saw me standing there trembling. And I said to her, I was crying by this time, and I said to her, "I ask you to put the dog away, because I have to come every day to do this lady's give her medication." And she just looked at me and she said, "Oh, my dog wanted a piece of black meat to eat today." And I cried. And I went. I did what I had to do. I went and did mine. And I went back to the office where I used to work from Shoreditch Health Centre. My manager then, her name was Mrs. Merriman. I cannot forget her. Mrs. Merriman, and I went in tears telling Mrs. Merriman what happened. And she said, "Okay, I will deal with her." Mrs. Merriman went to her and said to her, "You have to apologize to my nurse." And those days, the people were not allowed to have dogs in their flats. And Mrs. Merriman said, she told her, "If you don't apologize to me, she's going to let the council know about the dog, and she will lose her flat. Also have to get out because she's got the dog there, get rid of the dog." And she didn't just have to apologize to me verbally, she had to put it in writing, and send it to the office in St. Leonard's.
So how did you build a sense of home away from home?
Visited friends and people that I knew from home. When you get to know where they're living, you visit each other.
I suppose the home away from home as well is the food, and as you said, the parties, and the people you hang around with, because I know food, eventually you could get more of the food that you were used to, I suppose.
Well, yes, because those days you did not get much of kind of Caribbean food, really. West Indian food that you used to have in the Caribbean, but people made the most of what they had.
Had to do like the tests, they do a written test, and they ask about doing a mental calculation, and they're going to do the adding up and so forth. So I did the adding up in my head mentally, and I told the interviewer what the answer was, and she looked at me really in the most peculiar way. I said, "How did you come by that? How did you get the answer?" So I said, "You asked me to do a multiplication in my head and tell you the answer," which I did. I didn't have to write it down. You asked me to add it up in my head and tell you the answer, which I did. So therefore, was I right or was I not? And yeah, she agreed that I was right, but she still couldn't understand how I come by the answer. So, and it wasn't, the way she said it, it wasn't very nice, you know. It was as if to say, you shouldn't be able to get this answer, you know, which is no way. It really kind of put me off her attitude.
I thought, okay, I'll do nursing. Unfortunately, I couldn't get into the hospital because we only had 2 hospitals in Jamaica training nurses at the time. So I couldn't get into the hospitals there. So my neighbor, who was the head teacher of the school, the secondary school I went to, she suggested England because she had a sister that was England who was trained here as a nurse. So she advised me that maybe England would be easier. So the sister sent me the name of the hospital. I applied, got through, and here I am.
So were those like your hopes and dreams?
Well, I would have preferred to be in Jamaica, to be quite honest, because that's where my family is, you know, but the opportunity was here. Lots of people were coming. It was the time of the Windrush. I didn't even know it was then. All I know that lots of people were leaving. And I had a cousin, I had relatives over here already anyway. So I thought, if they can do it, so can I. So I came, and as I said, it was Bevington, Cheshire. And so I remember it was in January, and I wasn't appropriately dressed, so I don't know what went in Jamaica. And so what nurse did, she gave me a cardigan. And I think I came from the airport. Strange enough, I think trauma enables you to block out certain things. So I must have been quite traumatized. All I can remember is being at a train station, and from the train station took a train to the hospital. So don't ask me how I got from the airport to the train station.
So you went straight into training?
Yeah, and so, but you know, back to the trauma. I didn't understand it, and I wasn't aware of it. It's just I was thinking, how did I get there? You know, on my own. But I remember being at the train station and talking to a man, getting on the train and getting to Liverpool, and again getting a taxi to Bevington, Cheshire, which is quite close to Wales. I don't know if it's North or South Wales. But it was beautiful. It was all green, and it was winter, shivering cold, but it was okay because you know, the nurse's home was always very hot, always central heated and stuff like that.
What were your hopes and dreams when you came to the UK?
Well, mainly is to help my families, but help myself first, and then my families back home.
Yeah.
Because I left my brothers and sisters and all the rest, cousins and so home. And I was like, it was exciting coming to England. And I can remember really when I was going to school and heard that England was a cold place. And I remember writing in my essay at school that I would like to go to England because it's cold. But then after I heard, here I am, coming to England. I arrived in May. It wasn't really that cold, but it was dull, a dull day. There was no sun shining.
What was the biggest cultural shock for you?
Well, it's really big, strange experience. I arrived on the plane at Gatwick Airport, got off the plane. I was told to take a train from Gatwick to Victoria. It's the first time I've seen a train. It's the first time I've seen a train and even travel on a train. So it was strange from Gatwick to Victoria. Anyway, it wasn't just me alone, other passengers as well that came out from the aircraft.
Did you come on your own?
Yes, I came on my own, but luckily when I arrived at the airport in Jamaica, there was one of my elder cousin, real cousin like my mother's age.
Okay.
I was so happy because I didn't know she was coming to England. I didn't know. So when I saw her, I was excited because we could speak and talk about the family. So we traveled together on the plane, but then she was going to Birmingham and I'm coming to London. So from the time we arrived, and I didn't see her again until years after in Birmingham. Anyway, so this experience of arriving in a strange country, get off at Victoria, and I was told to my auntie meet me at Victoria. station, and we took a bus, number 29 bus. Then every looking around, everybody is so strange. It's so strange. No one that I know really, they dress differently, you know. So it's a culture shock, you know. Strange. You're wondering if you're not dreaming. It's real, and especially when we were traveling on the bus, majority of the passenger was white people. And one thing that I wasn't, not say happy, it did affect me most. It was in the 60s. There was no house with central heating. What they used to use to heat the home, to warm the home, was coal. Coal, you know coal? Coal, yeah.
Coal like the home.
Yeah, in the fireplace.
Coal that you used to do barbecue with.
Yeah, but to do barbecue with. That's what they used to heat the home. And every house have chimney. If you notice, every house have chimney. So all these smoke from the coal that burned inside was coming out through the chimney, and it created a smell, and I didn't like the smell.
They just send you there. You go to the place where they give out the work.
Job centre.
Job center, yes. It wasn't called a job center then, but is that. And they gave me the job. So he said to me, little polishing on the stairs and little dusting, can you do that? I said, of course. So I went, but when I went, they took me down to the kitchen. Kitchen is on the ground floor of the building. And she gave me a big mop bucket with my mop and my scrubbing brush. Scrub the hallway of the kitchen. Just the hallway from 8 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. So I did that for some times. But whilst I was doing that, many times when the head cook is short of anything, like her machine cutting the onions not work, she would call Anne. Say, oh Anne, can you cut me some onions? So I just dropped my thing and I said, yes, Miss Hayward. And sometimes she would say, oh, could you do me some carrots or anything she wants? So she will ask me at times to do special things for her. Because the other day, when her machine not working to cut her cucumber and thing, she asked me. And when I did it and took it to her, she said, but Anne, I thought the machine wasn't working. I said, no, Miss Hayward, I did it by my hand. So she had a liking for me, for my work, because she feels that I did my work good.
What do you consider to be your home?
To be my home? Here in England. Yes, I was a British subject. I paid to come here. And it wasn't what we thought that England was, because it's the Queen's country. So, but it was very hard. It was very rough. It was really, really rough. You couldn't be in a room by yourself. You had to have a partner, because you could not afford to pay the £2 for that room. You couldn't pay £2 because you're working for £5. You've got family home, all right? So you could pay £1 for your rent. Keep 4. Out of that, you have to pay your bus fare, going and coming from work, and feed yourself. So you had to be so careful with money. Very, very hard. Yes, no entertainment. Work was all your entertainment. And you're glad if they say, come and work tomorrow. It's your day off. But if you're glad for them to ask you, because you get an extra £1.
I was born in Jamaica, and my life in Jamaica was really nice. I had fun. Nothing like here. And in England, obviously they were short of people. So they opened the way, saying that the Caribbean people could come here and help, which my mother was one of them. I came here in the 50s. Oh, I traveled by myself. I was 13, so I was not a baby. I was quite grown. I kept my culture. As you can hear in my voice, I kept my culture, and I pass it down to my children and my grandchildren, and second and third generation who have to keep it going. Because it's like they never recognize what took place, you know, and how badly they were treated. And they came here to be teachers and bus drivers and nurses and cleaners and bus, you know, and I don't think that was ever accepted or appreciated. It'd be good if it was recognized, and also these people, the way we were treated, apologize. If it's even to apologize, that's one of the first things they should do, apologize. Because we made Britain great.